and his prudent approach to cutting spending. I'm sure that he's got a thing. But can we talk about Canada for a minute? I mean, seriously, I mean, honestly, can we just stop here? Because I am old enough to remember when this was a South Park gag, war with Canada. The fact that there you have the president of the United States, the same day that he has been basically rolled by Vladimir Putin, saying that the nastiest country he has to deal with is Canada. And you can tell from Laura Ingram's response to this, I mean, she is a complete loyalist, and she is thinking, seriously, she's almost laughing at him because it is so crazy. So for all the Trump splainers out there who think that Donald Trump has this, world view, that he's got this strategy or he's playing four-dimensional chess, look, I mean, he's got policies on some issues, he's got impulses, and then he's got these bizarre fetishes. And this is one of those things where people are trying to figure out, you're joking, right? You're really not serious about this. This is not one of your strange ideas. But I will be honest with you. I don't know what you think about this. I thought he was just kind of trolling people when he started talking about this, and this was kind of a joke. But he is serious about it. And if Donald Trump is actually serious about taking over Canada, what does that say about the man who is the president of the United States right now? Because to say that it's not normal seems to understate the case, doesn't it, Michael? Eugene,
you've talked to the Canadians, so maybe you can help Charlie and me understand what this is all about.
I did a podcast a month and a half ago with the Canadian ambassador, and this was kind of after Donald Trump first started talking about them as the 51st state, when he was calling Justin Trudeau, who was the prime minister at the time, the governor of the 51st state. He said it to him at dinner. She was sitting right next to them at the dinner table when this happened. And I said, what does this feel like to be a country this is your ally, right? You're at the table with the,
and they want to make you a state.
The president, and he wants to make you a state and cut you up. And how would that work? And what she said was the way they saw it, and can probably continue to see it, is like the big brother needling the little brother, right? Just making fun of him, like trying to make it difficult, and they didn't really take it seriously. My understanding is that that has kind of changed with exactly what Charlie's talking about, because it keeps coming up. But I think what's at the center of this for Donald Trump is an expansion of American power, right? And so one of the things that he appreciates about Russian President Vladimir Putin is that he wants to expand and seemingly make his country bigger all the time, and that is something that Donald Trump is interested in, right? That's why he talks about Greenland. That's why he talks about the Panama Canal, because that goes back to a yesteryear when the United States was bigger and thinking larger. Right at this point, we had kind of stopped. Right, we weren't adding any things. This was what we had, and for him, a real estate mogul, right, by trade, expanding all of that is very important. And for him, it makes the country look more important and bigger on the world stage. And so people should probably take it seriously when he's talking about these things. No idea how it would operate. And when you ask the White House what that looks like when these countries say we're not for sale, or you can't annex us, we're not interested in it, how would that work? They don't really have an answer, and sometimes even some of the aides laugh.
So he doesn't want to take us to war in Ukraine, but he wants to take us to the Middle East. But he wants to take us to war against empire, Charlie.
Republicans are getting an earful from their own red district constituents over these Trump-Musk agenda items.
Why are we allowing an unelected person, Elon Musk, to make decisions on our government agencies?
I get it. There's a lot of people in this room that don't support what Doge is doing. But for the first time, we are making some progress.
Listen, when Joe Biden was doing stuff like...
I will not cut your Social Security. It is a promise.
We're not at war, and Donald Trump is not a king. He is not above the law. What will you do to make sure he doesn't defy court orders and make a stand for the Constitution and democracy?
It's not healthy for the Republic to have court orders that are not being obeyed.
I support Elon Musk and the Department of Government Efficiency.
What you see there is civics in action. I've told you, the campaign season is over. Town halls are about governing. And for any representatives who take them seriously because they're up for election in the next 2 years, or actually think they want to know what their constituents think, this can matter. Indeed, you saw the softening of some language there about something very basic that led our show tonight, following court orders rather than defying them. But you have a conservative Republican in a conservative district telling everyone, well, yes, we should at least do that. Local groups are also putting up billboards for lawmakers who won't even step up and face peaceful civic questioning like I just showed you. Have you seen our congressman? Meanwhile, I want to play something important from Republican Senator Lisa Murkowski. For years, we have reported on the problem of money in politics, and it is generally, let's be clear, a nonpartisan problem. It afflicts both parties. We've done whole reports here and had guests on, and I've told you about how corporate and Wall Street interests have too much, that is to say, more power because of their money than they would have just in a democracy that reflected what the public thinks. Here's a conservative, Lisa Murkowski, saying that problem has afflicted her party because people are afraid that Musk can use or abuse his money to distort elections.
It may be that Elon Musk has decided he's going to take the next $1 billion that he makes off of Starlink and put it directly against Lisa Murkowski. Everybody else is like, well, how come nobody else is saying anything? Well, figure it out. That's why you've got everybody just like zip lip, not saying a word, because they're afraid they're going to be taken down. They're going to be primaried.
Figure it out. We don't think Lisa Murkowski is a method actor. We think she was really reflecting how she felt. You could see some of her concern there as one of the few outliers who, she says, is not afraid of the primary or will face it if she gets one from Musk. She is describing a party that has been captured. Meanwhile, business leaders and others are grappling with how the Trump economic agenda and the tariff uncertainty is affecting their livelihood.
She's enjoyed owning a craft store, but with tariffs imposed by the Trump administration, she's about to hit a stitch in her business.
Georgia's Middleburg Heights,
Northeast Wisconsin.
There's changes every day as far as the tariff percentages.
That's really bad for the consumer and obviously for the local business.
It's not easy to pinpoint which country's tariffs would hurt the most.
Tariffs are another added pressure in an already tough environment right now.
If I get hit with those tariffs mid-year, it's going to be an absolute killer on the business.
This is not some conspiracy theory spin that is going to trick people out of what you just saw there around the country, going through the lived reality of the Trump economic agenda.
In any way. And states that would definitely benefit from a fully operational and fully staffed and fully funded NOAA. What about FEMA, which provides essential tools for cleaning up and rebuilding after devastating storms, like the ones we also saw last week and this week? Trump and Elon Musk claim the agency is a political tool wielded by Democrats during disasters. I don't even know what they mean by that exactly. So guess what they've done? They've cut jobs there, too. And Trump has even mused about shutting it down altogether. That's how they're owning the libs, I guess, right? I mean, that's their approach. But guess which states get the most recovery funding from FEMA and the Department of Housing and Urban Development? Well, states like Louisiana and Florida and Texas, not exactly target Democratic states, those ones typically. Notice the theme here? See, the things they've already done and things they're planning to do actually hurt red states more than blue states. They're trying to own the libs, but they're actually hurting Trump voters. The people they are hurting the most are in the very states that voted to put Trump in the White House. And we're seeing this everywhere, all the time. It's happening every day. They're hurting red states by working to repeal the Inflation Reduction Act, even though 80% of the investments are in Republican districts. They'll continue to hurt people who voted for them if they go after Social Security, which 1 in 5 Americans across every single state rely on. And they'll hurt lots of proud MAGA members if they go after Medicaid. In one Appalachian county in Kentucky, almost 90% of the residents in Harlan County, that's where I'm talking about, voted for Trump, and almost half of them received Medicaid. One woman relying on a Medicaid-funded treatment program for addiction told the Washington Post, if it were to go away today, I would be homeless tomorrow. I would lose everything, all my counseling, all my treatment. If Trump takes the things that they're saying it's going to be devastation for Eastern Kentucky for sure. And you don't have to just to take her word, or my word for that matter, for it. Here's Steve Bannon.
A lot of MAGAs on Medicaid. I'm telling you, if you don't think so, you are dead wrong. Medicaid's going to be a complicated one. Just can't take a Medex to it, although I would love to.
I mean, the music in the background there is really quite something. But the point is, that guy is not exactly known for his empathy. He's not really a super empathetic guy. But he understands the political reality of Medicaid and other issues, too. Trump is also hurting red states with his beloved tariffs. He loves those tariffs. According to New York Times analysis, nearly 8 million Americans work in industries targeted by tariffs, and the majority are Trump voters. The jobs that could be hit by retaliation are especially concentrated in pockets of the upper Midwest, South and Southeast, including many rural parts of the county that are responsible for producing agricultural goods. And again, don't take my word for it or their word for it. Here's Mike Pence.
The truth is, when it comes to tariffs, the importer here in the United States pays the tariff. The foreign country doesn't pay the tariff. More often than not, passes along the increased costs on that product to the consumer. Too often I hear the administration talking about broad-based unilateral tariffs that I think will ultimately work against American jobs, American families, and American business.
There you heard it from noted liberal crusader, as he's well known, Mike Pence. See, what's becoming increasingly clear is that in this broad effort to own the libs, Donald Trump is actually owning his own voters. And you wonder why Republicans don't want to hold town meetings out.
So, folks, again, I've talked about this, that Canada seems to be doing the most damage to Trump. Like Democrats are resisting. Some of them are. Not Chuck. You need to retire, Chuck. I'm sorry, your time's done. It's just somebody new has to come in. Some new blood. But, regular folks like you, regular progressive and decent pro-democracy Americans are resisting. But in many ways, the most effective opposition from, governments and from politicians is from Canada more than the United States, and it's because Canada is actually putting the screws to Trump. I think we need to do more in Canada. Again, I've talked about this. I think Canada needs to do more to oppose Trump. I do. I think that what the NDP is proposing, as opposed to the Liberals and Conservatives, is more aggressively anti-Trump, and we need to see that. But what we have seen so far, guys, is that the tariffs are hurting the U.S. economy in the way Trump cares about the most, more than Canada. Trump doesn't actually care about working class people, either working class Americans or working class Canadians. But he does care about billionaires and multi-millionaires. And so what he cares about is the stock market. And as of today, at least, now the stock market's closed right now, but as of the end of today, the markets in Canada over the last month are down, but only about 2% in a month. The markets in the United States, though, are down, the markets are down in Canada about 2%. In the United States, they're down nearly triple that. It's about triple. So the American markets are down substantially more than the Canadian markets are since this fight really kicked off. Yes, Trump is hurting Canada. We're not hiding that fact. But what we did say is that Trump's moves are only going to hurt himself and his country more than it hurts Canada. That he's going to make all of these dumb, stupid moves, and it's not even going to achieve his goal. In fact, any Canadian that even was thinking about maybe it'd be cool to join the United States one day, and that was always a tiny number of Canadians, that number has shrunk majorly because of Donald.